What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Sniper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we finish up our talks on the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer. We started off with a bang back on Tuesday, I'll put that up in the iCard above for you, where we gave our first subclass we looked at our first 10 out of 10 for Sorcerer, which is really cool, and I think you guys really enjoyed it. I got a lot of comments on the video and that kind of thing, so thank you all for doing that. But today we're here to build one, and I'm excited to do that as well. Before we jump into it, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure to share the video with your friends and click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded. Another great way to support the channel, in fact, the best way to support the channel, is by becoming a member. By joining down below for only $2 a month, you can, of course, gain access to all of my subclass fix guides and my subclass build guides that I do on this channel. I have a very cool formatted document for each of these that I do, and helps to follow along a little bit, helps you to be able to take this to your table if you were going to use this, or maybe even use it as a basis of an enemy character or an NPC in your campaign. Whatever it happens to be, gives you something nice there as a way for me to give back to you for thanking you for the support. And of course, at higher tiers, you get some other things as well. Number one, you are going to get all of my videos early, which is great, 24 hours early, which is a great perk. And you also get a special shout out during my videos as well. And finally, the gold tier is still developing, but for right now, it gives you access to a special part of my Discord server, as well as helping me to figure out what we're going to do for the future of the channel. And when I get variety builds up and going again, then of course direct input will be taken from there as well. But of course, to all of you who are watching, thank you for being here. Let's see what we can do for today. So yeah, our first subclass we look at is a 10 out of 10. And honestly, it's really only, I don't want to say it necessarily that strongly, but it's really very much in part thanks to the expanded spell list that you get access to, thereby almost doubling the number of spells that you get throughout your lifetime as a sorcerer. It makes a huge difference. And then you couple that with your 6th level feature, which I'll talk about again when we get there. But yeah, coupling it with that is also pretty cool. So I think that there's a lot to really love here. Now, do I think that going 20 levels in Sorcerer is the way to go? I really don't think that going 20 levels in Sorcerer is kind of ever the way to go, to be honest with you. Like, yes, I don't like putting off my spell progression, but at the same time, my capstone feature is really not enticing enough for me to worry about it. So as long as I get my 9th level spells, honestly, I'm good. So today we're going to be doing a little bit of multi-classing, not much, but just a tiny little bit, just to give us a little bit of a boost that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So let's jump in. Starting off at level 1, we have our race, and I am starting this series off strong by ticking everybody off and going with custom lineage. Yes, I have not gone custom lineage in a hot minute, and I know I'm already getting comments. Oh my gosh, you went custom lineage. How boring. I've had that exact comment before. Custom lineage ... how boring. And you know what? I don't care. I don't care. This is my channel. It's my build. I'm going to do what I want. So deal with it. Yeah, custom lineage gives us a feat at level 1. And honestly, that's the biggest thing that I need here. I want to make sure that we are getting everything that we want during this build. There are a lot of feats that I want to take, more so than ASIs. But beyond that, I want to make sure that I'm getting my ASIs early so that I can get my stats up, so that I'm not having to worry about having a high charisma score, about having a high constitution score as I go throughout. We are going to be solely focused on our charisma, so luckily we don't have to worry about splitting up anything, but still it's very important. And so we are going to take Meta Magic Adept. And I know what you're thinking, Dapper, you're already a sorcerer. Why do you need more sorcery points? And the answer is, you can never have enough sorcery points. And 2, we have some things that we want to spend a lot of sorcery points on, so having extra to be able to blow is a really good thing. I especially am thinking about this when I look at my 6th level feature, my ability that lets me basically subtle spell certain spells for a discounted cost, which is really nice. And even beyond that, this isn't the focus of it, but it does also affect our level 18 feature, where we can, blow up after we vortex everybody into a certain central point. I think that also is nice, but that's very expensive at 5 sorcery points. So having a little bit of extra is nice. Plus we get 2 extra options for meta magic. So we're gonna have almost the entire list by the end of this build because we're just gonna have so many, which is not a bad thing. That is called versatility, and I really like that. So that's why we're going with that. For our stats, of course, we're going to be doing our modified standard array. I forgot to put the rules up at the beginning of the video, so there you go. There's the rules, and that also shows off the modified standard array, so there you go. If your table does something different, whether it's rolled stats or a regular standard array, if you do something else, maybe it's point buy, whatever it happens to be, your stats will look different than mine, and that's totally fine. Just make sure that you go in order from top to bottom, same as I do, and you can adapt the numbers accordingly. So my top stat is going to be, of course, in my charisma. Very obvious there. The next one is going to be my constitution. Now, technically beyond this, it really doesn't matter because those are really the 2 that we're pushing the most. Next, though, I would probably go with dexterity just for armor class, just for my initiative, for all the things that dexterity gives us. Then I would go with wisdom for wisdom saving throws, just because those come up somewhat often. And then strength and intelligence, they don't really matter, so I don't really care. Finally, for equipment, we really don't need anything, to be honest. I'd make sure I have an arcane focus, but besides that, I really don't need anything. We don't have proficiency in armor because we're starting out in sorcerer. So there's really nothing that we can take here that would really benefit us. So, take what you can get, but an arcane focus or a component pouch, that's fine. That's really all we need. So let's start taking some levels. At level 1, like I said, we're going to be a sorcerer, which I know is weird for me, but I want the constitution saving throw proficiencies, and so starting with sorcerer makes a lot of sense. So we're going to go ahead and get spellcasting, our psionic spells, and telepathic speech, and these are all really, really nice options. Like I said, spellcasting, of course, one of the best features in the game, and we are a full caster. Now, we are a known casting class, like we talked about in our general guide to sorcerers, which I'll put up in the iCard above for you as well. And so this means that our picks have to be a lot more intentional. We have to be very careful with what we take at each level because we don't just get to swap them out every time we take a long rest, unlike things like the druid or the cleric. So that's something that we're not quite as versatile with, and so you have to just make sure you're picking the right spells. Yes, you can swap them out later if you don't like them, but still, you don't want to be stuck an entire level with a spell that's just bad or that you never use. You want to make sure you're getting your full mileage out of each of them. For cantrips, we get Mind Sliver for free, and then as far as ones I would take, Firebolt, Prestidigitation, Shocking Grasp, those are all pretty standard, pretty good staples that I think are a good idea on any sorcerer, really. We don't really need any of the weapon-based ones. We don't need anything crazy there. So that's where I would start there. As for first level spells, we get things like Arms of Hadar and Dissonant Whispers for free, just by being this sorcerer. And then we also get Absorb Elements, Shields, Silvery Barbs, the standards there. And then, of course, Magic Missile, also a really good one. These are just standard ones that every sorcerer should have in his or her back pocket. I don't know why you would ever leave home without all of these. Basically, these are going to keep you alive and give you some really reliable damage as you go throughout your career. Of course, if you ever want to swap one of these out for something once you get to later level, by all means, go for it. But for here at the first level, these are some that you really can't go without. As Sorcerer 2, we of course get Font of Magic, and normally all we would be able to do is just convert these to spell slots. But since we already took a feat and got the Metamagic Adept, we actually already have Metamagic online at this level, so we can use this now, which is awesome. So either of our options are going to work out great here. Of course, Quickened and Twinned are probably going to be my best bet to have right off the bat. There are some other ones that by all means you can take, and I think make a lot of sense, but to me, I think Quickened and Twinned makes a lot of sense here at the beginning, helping you out to be able to deal extra damage. You can, of course, do like 2 Firebolts in a turn. You could do something leveled and then do something as a cantrip and deal some really good damage there. I think there's a lot of good there that you can do. Then once we get to Sorcerer 3, we of course get a couple more options for that, and I'd probably go ahead and grab things like Transmuted. And if you want to take Subtle Spell, you can take Subtle Spell. I personally don't think Subtle Spell is necessary on this build just because you get essentially that at level 6, but I don't know. I know the community's kind of split on this. I personally find it redundant, but I'll go ahead and throw it on here for this build just because I know that a lot of people really like it and like having the option on all of your spells. So, we'll put it on there. We also get second level spells at this point, and so Calm Emotions and Detect Thoughts come online here. Both okay. I would probably swap Calm Emotions out for something else as we go. Maybe something like Suggestion. I mean, I know that's already on the Sorcerer list, but it's a better use of a slot there rather than Calm Emotions, in my opinion anyway. I think Detect Thoughts is good, especially in combination with our 6th level feature, being able to detect thoughts without the person knowing that we are trying to read thoughts. I think that's pretty nice, so I would personally swap out the one but keep the other, but that's just me. Other options here, Crown of Madness, Enlarge Reduce, Hold Person, and Misty Step are all really good brings. At Sorcerer 4, we're going to get our first ASI or feat, and I'm probably just going to go ahead and round off that Charisma score and get that up to at least a 20 for me. It might be a little longer before you get a 20, but at least get that up to 18 if your stats are a little bit behind. That's the biggest thing. And then I would, of course, go ahead and bump my Constitution to an even number as well, helping out with our hit points and our concentration and all that good stuff. Not really a reason that would be a bad thing to do that. So definitely do that. And then at this level, of course, this is when we could swap out the spell Calm Emotions for Suggestion, so I would do that as well. At Sorcerer 5, we get Magical Guidance, which is a new-ish feature introduced in Tasha's, and it's pretty nice. I think it's fine. It's technically optional, so just make sure that your DM is allowing these features. I personally allow them at my table because I really don't think they're broken. They give a lot of nice benefits to a lot of classes that need them, and so I think it's fine. It's really not that bad. So yeah, definitely use that to your advantage. At 3rd level spells, we get Hunger of Hadar and Sending for free, which is good. I would probably keep both of those. I think those are both really, really nice. And then we also get things like Counterspell, Dispel Magic, Haste, Slow, Fireball, all of the insane ones. 3rd level sorcerer spells are ridiculous, and your biggest problem is that you don't get more of them. That's your problem. They're all so good, so just really pick what you really find as your niche, and that's the right answer, right? That is the correct answer. Then at Sorcerer 6, we are going to finally get our Psionic Sorcery and our Psychic Defenses. So Psionic Sorcery, of course, is our basically discounted subtle spell type of thing. So we can cast the spell with our sorcery points and then also get subtle spell built in as long as it's on our list of spells that we got from earlier. So that's really good. I think that's an awesome feature. I don't think that there would be any reason to multi-class before this point. For any reason. I think there's zero reason to multi-class before level 6 here. Psychic Defenses isn't bad, giving you resistance to psychic damage, and of course you get advantage on saves against Charm and Frighten. Not a bad thing at all, especially at this level. We're going to start running into monsters that want to Charm and Frighten, and I think that it's really good time to be getting something like this. And again, I don't want to delay that. I think it's good to be getting it at level 6. It's a little early, but better early in this game than late, so I'll absolutely take that. Then I'll go a step further and go to Sorcerer 7, and I think that it would be even better to go to this level before considering multi-classing, just because you get certain spells here. Of course, this is now where our odd spell levels start to not give us any features, but we are going to be getting high-level spells here, and that makes a huge difference. We get Ivard's Black Tentacles and Summon Aberration here. Summon Aberration is take it or leave it for me, so I would consider swapping that out for something else. There aren't that many amazing spells here on the enchantment or divination lists, but if you find one you like, absolutely take it. But the biggest ones here are Banishment and Polymorph. These two are a huge deal and will absolutely make a difference. Polymorph especially, because we are a squishy sorcerer, and the best way to gain a bunch of HP is by becoming a dinosaur or something like that that has a lot of health. that is an amazing way to bulk yourself up and deal a little bit of damage, but really keep yourself safe while still helping to contribute in a way. So now that we've locked that up, I think that now is an appropriate time to consider multi-classing. And at this point, I think now is the time. I really want to dip somewhere else in order to make this a little bit more effective, and I think that the Warlock chassis actually gives me access to that. Now, we're going to talk in honorable mentions about some other options, but I think I'm going with a bit of a weird option given the direction that I'm taking this character, because I am going to be leaving some things on the table by doing this, but I'd rather leave one feature on the table than have several redundancies. And that's kind of where we end up with a few of the other Warlock chassis. With this, we are actually going with the Hexblade Warlock, but we're not going to be taking on a weapon. We're not worrying about the blade part of it. So as far as your character goes, this is a moment that you're going to have to work out with your DM, because thematically it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So definitely work this out with your DM in that you found this magical evil weapon and you just don't want to use it. And you don't want to use it, and you're fighting with the weapon because it's saying, hey, you need to use me, and you're like, no, I don't want to. So definitely consider doing that. I think that could be a funny dynamic, a fun way to do the character. So yeah, definitely consider that. But the biggest thing here is that we get the Hexblade's Curse and Hex Warrior. Now, Hexblade's Curse is really nice because a lot of this stuff just says if you make an attack roll. You make an attack roll with Fireball, or you make an attack roll with Firebolt and a bunch of other spells that require this. You have plenty of options there. So definitely consider taking spells that have attack rolls here and using that to your advantage. That would, of course, allow you to deal a little bit of extra damage and curse these things. You have more chance to crit there, which is great. You can heal if that creature goes down. There's a lot going on with Hexblade's Curse, and I really like that. And then beyond that is Hex Warrior, and so we get a bunch of proficiencies here, and that's the big one. We now can take medium armor if we want to. Am I going to suggest it? Probably not unless you've got a breastplate or something that doesn't prevent you from being stealthy, but it is an option that you have. You could also have a shield, so you can have your Arcane Focus and a shield if you wanted to do that, just to help out your AC. Definitely an option there. So yeah, I think that there's some options there in helping you to be a little bit beefier and not quite go down to every single thing, but of course we get some more spells here, and Eldritch Blast is my main take here at the cantrip level. The Eldritch Blast is going to be very effective in how much damage it can do. It's very reliable, gives us a long distance, and it requires an attack roll, so we definitely appreciate that. We also then get first level spells, and I'm not crazy about all of them, but Armor of Agathis and Hex both make a lot of sense to me. Now, remember, this is packed magic. This is not normal spell casting that we are going to be getting as a Warlock. So, of course, these spell slots are very limited in their use, but they come back on a short rest. So we can ultimately work that system there. We can cast spells from either list using either set of spell slots, and so definitely go crazy with that. And by go crazy, I mean you get, one spell slot for Warlock, and that's all we're going to get, because we're not going to be staying here for very long, but that's fine. At Warlock 2, we are going to get our Eldritch Invocations, and really this is the reason why we're here. So I want to take Agonizing Blast, of course, in order to boost the damage that we are going to be dealing with the Eldritch Blast, and I also want to take a weird one, and that's Armor of Shadows. Armor of Shadows allows us to cast Mage Armor at will, and that's a really nice thing. This saves me from having to take it as a sorcerer, although if you wanted to take it as a sorcerer earlier, by all means take it, and then you can swap this out for something else. But I think that this is nice for helping to boost up our AC just a little bit more, and then of course we can have a shield as well, which is really nice. So definitely consider that. I think that that's a good option. And then we're going to further that when we go back to Sorcerer at Sorcerer 8 and get another ASIR feat and take Eldritch Adept. And with that, we can take Fiendish Vigor, which means that we can cast False Life. And I think the combination of all of these things, the shield plus the extra AC, plus the temporary HP is really going to help our survivability increase by a lot. And it's going to feel good. It's going to feel good to be able to sling all these spells and be much safer just in a 2-level dip off to the side in Warlock, and I think that's really, really awesome. So definitely consider doing that. Then Sorcerer 9, we are now on the home stretch here. As we pick up, every odd level is going to be a new spell level, and then every even level is going to be some little miscellaneous thing that is scaling off of a prior feature. So we're going to go kind of quick, but that's totally fine. For Sorcerer 9, we get 5th level spells, so Rary's Telepathic Bond and Telekinesis come online here for free. I would keep both of those. I don't think there's a reason to get rid of either of them. They're really good. Animate Objects, Dominate Person, and Hold Monster make the most sense to me for taking, but of course there are other options like Synaptic Static that make a lot of sense as well. So definitely pick your favorites there. At Sorcerer 10, we get another meta magic option. I'd probably take Heightened Spell at this point. Ultimately, I think we've gotten really all the options that we need for this, so we're kind of going for gravy at this point. Heightened makes sense to me, I think, for certain spells, so definitely use it if you need it. And you know, we've got a few extra sorcery points laying around, so we can pay for it, and it's totally fine there. At Sorcerer 11, we of course get access to 6th level spells, and I would take things like Mass Suggestion and Mental Prison. Those are very much in line with what we are looking for here, and I think they fit the theme perfectly. Then at Sorcerer 12, we finally get another ASI feat, and I'm taking Warcaster. Warcaster, of course, is going to give us advantage on the concentration checks, as well as being able to cast spells as our opportunity attacks, which is great because we really weren't carrying a weapon at this point, and this allows us to be a little bit more useful. You, of course, could have taken this much earlier if you wanted to, but I think that taking it now is just a little bit more appropriate. At Sorcerer 13, we get 7th level spells. Finger of Death, Firestorm, Plane Shift, and Prismatic Spray make the most sense to me. Just deal a bunch of damage. Just deal a ton of damage. There's not a ton of spells at this point that really are targeting the mind. You know, we don't even get things like Feeble Mind or anything like that. So, you know, as far as mental type of focused spells, we're just not getting the ones that we want here at this level, so I just go for damage, personally. That's just me, but it is what it is. Sorcerer 14, we finally get another subclass feature, and we get Revelation in Flesh. This allows us to basically have Alter Self on steroids for a very low cost, and I think that it's nice. We get to fly, we could possibly swim, and there's a lot going on here. And we'll talk about what could be improved with this as far as our building choices and how we can augment this a little more. We really didn't take advantage of it too much in this build, but there are plenty of ways that you can do that, and we'll talk about that in honorable mentions. But still, very nice feature, very versatile, helps us do a lot of things that we would love to be able to do normally. And then at Sorcerer 15, we get 8th level spells. Dominate Monster, Power Word Stun, and Incendiary Cloud are awesome options. Again, I'm looking for kind of mental, like telepathic kind of stuff. Our options aren't the best, so this is what we got. And then Sorcerer 16, we get another ASI feat. I'd probably just bump Constitution or take the tough feat. Either way is fine there. Both help us out with our hit points. The +2 in Constitution also will help us with concentration and that kind of thing. So maybe that's a little bit better, but both options work just fine for me. Sorcerer 17, we get another meta magic option, and I'd probably just go with Empowered Spell. Am I going to use this? Probably not that much, but it's there if we ever want to use it. And then we also get 9th level spells here, things like Wish or Power Word Kill. Make a ton of sense to me, so definitely go with one of those. And then finally, Sorcerer 18, we get Warping Implosion, which is our draw everybody in, and then blow them up later if we want to. So really fun stuff. So that's our build for today. Let me know what you think down below. We of course are going to look at some honorable mentions before we go, and we'll have a little bit of fun with that. For my first honorable mention as far as other race options, the Mountain Dwarf actually makes a lot of sense to me here because we get extra bonuses to our ASIs. Notice that you get 2+2s here, and you go ahead and pick up proficiency with armor, which is a big deal, right? We don't get that as a sorcerer, so this definitely makes starting sorcerer a lot easier. The Leonin is also a nice option. I'm personally very partial to the Leonin. I really like it. And the bonus action fear effect is really cool and very unique. Most of your fear effects that come from a racial are an action. And so being able to shift that to a bonus action is really good. And then finally, one of the most fun options, it's not the best mechanically, but the Changeling actually would be a super fun Aberrant Mind Sorcerer in my opinion, just with its abilities to change appearance and that kind of thing, and just your ability to then climb around or swim or be able to cast spells while having them subtle and looking like somebody else. I think there's a lot of potential there, so definitely consider that. For other feat options, telekinetic makes perfect sense to me, right? It's perfectly on brand here, so definitely consider doing that. Gives us that little bonus action shove if we ever wanted to do that. Is it the best mechanically? But it fits the flavor, so thought I'd mention it. The mobile feat also is really good here, especially in boosting our walking speed in combination, of course, with our level 14 feature, which is really nice, so definitely consider that as well. And finally, for other class options, I think that the other class options here are going to be pretty obvious outside of the last one maybe, but the first two are going to be the Psi Warrior and the Soul Knife. Of course, both of these psionic based subclasses, both would work really well here, honestly, and I think that there's a lot of good that could be had. If we really wanted to go deep into it, we could have taken one level in Hexblade and then taken a few levels into Psi Warrior, and that could have been a pretty gnarly combination, to be honest. So definitely something to consider there, and of course Soul Knife is a fan favorite, really fun option. And finally, the Peace Cleric, and really the cleric options are wide open, but of course it is a wisdom based class going with something that is charisma based, and so there's a little bit of a conflict there, but still the features offered with the Peace Cleric make a ton of sense, and I think it would work out really well. So that's our video for today. I hope you all enjoyed. Tomorrow, of course, we're coming out with our next battle in the LTM Pokemon Draft League, and next week we start talking about the Clockwork Sorcerer. Until then, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.